This is this week's Between the Chalk Line wrap up uh, episode, and you probably already know what the main topic will be if you've been paying attention to any of the baseball news. But if you haven't, you're gonna hear some big news that is probably gonna blow you away. Um, Start Sunday. Padres obviously looking to keep payroll under the luxury tax threshold that they've been going past. They're going to try and keep it under $200 million for 2024. Whether that means any more trades or not, like the Juan Soto trade, I don't know. But they're obviously going to be keeping guys on the roster that are cheap, as you will see in later in the week. They got someone that is rather cheap. And there are reports that first baseman and outfielder Cody Bellinger from Dodger is looking to get $250 million plus for his next contract. 250 plus. 250 is going to be the base. He probably will not take anything lower than that. He's seeing these people getting paid, just these enormous amounts of dollars in their contracts and these enormous of years as well. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could get a $300 million contract. Obviously, Bellinger is the type of guy that is up there. He was up there in 2019 with Mike Trout getting the NL MVP. Mike Trout got the AL MVP. It was all about California and West Coast, which I'll get to more about later again as well. Harper, Trout, is Bellinger a Trout Harper kind of guy? Is he a $300 million type of guy? Is he a Garrett Cole, $300 million kind of guy? Obviously, he's not going to be a Shohei Ohtani, $700 million kind of guy. He's not going to reach to that kind of height as far as contract and years. But that's a whole other ball game. But definitely, arguably, the next top prospect or top free agent, I should say, behind Shohei Ohtani. That is without a doubt a fact. Cody Bellinger is the next free agent that people want for their Christmas. This is the next, which I'll say this is the Christmas episode. He is the guy that everyone wants. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Josh Hader, those guys are all behind Cody Bellinger. They're all on tops of a lot of front offices lists, but they're definitely not up there as high as Cody Bellinger. It's just that simple. Some sad, but cool kind of news. Shin Soo-Choo, former LB All-Star, has, if you didn't know, he returned to Korea and started playing for one of the KBO teams in 2020. He told one of the team that 2024 will be his last season. He's 41 years old, so I think that's fair. Not a lot of pro players start playing or continue playing, I should say, past their 40s. So 41 years old, he's made millions of dollars in America and millions of dollars worth of money in Korea. So he said that I decided it was time for me to put a period on my baseball journey that started in 2001 through the Korean Times and other outlets. Continuing on saying, since the 2024 season will be my last one, I want to show my gratitude to baseball fans, both at home and on the road, and give them long-lasting memories throughout the year. So, Chu is, he was an amazing guy in MLB. If you didn't see him play, never got to see him play, I would say look up some of his plays that are highlights. I played over 16 years in MLB with Seattle, Cleveland, Cincinnati, a little time there in, as a Red, and then most notably towards the end of his career, obviously he was a Texas Ranger. He finished up as a Ranger, and he had a All-Star appearance actually at the age of 35, which is pretty darn good. Um, in the and he decided that in the the strike shortened year, he wanted to wrap that up and then make that his final year. He played 33 games out of the 60, and then just hung out with cleats as an MLB player. He's been with the SSG Landers of the KBO since 2021, and will be retiring with the SSG Landers since he's just resigned with them after the 2024 season. Moving on from Chu, and actually moving on to Monday, there wasn't a lot of stuff that happened over the weekend. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and the Diamondbacks came to an agreement on a 3-year deal to bring him back for $42 million with a $14 million club option to bring him back on 2027 season if they choose. Obviously, there will be a buyout that hasn't been announced yet how much that buyout will be, but I'm sure he'll get 250,000 to 500,000 is the norm for a contract of this size. I would guess that's probably what he'll get if he's extremely likely, maybe 1 million. But from that, he goes to the Braves, who released Matt Carpenter. He had a bounce back year in 2022 with the Yankees, and to San Diego as a DH for 2023, did terrible. Braves wanted a relief pitcher from San Diego, and they said, "Hey, we'll take on your heavy contract." And Carpenter, that he's kind of holding you back, and he's costing you money. As I said in the very beginning of this episode, San Diego wants to shed payroll, get rid of contracts, which they have been doing slowly, and Carpenter is one of those. The Braves obviously we're not going to be keeping Carpenter after last year. They released him, so now he is a free agent looking for a job. After this is 29 other teams. They put him on waivers, so 29 other teams had a chance to pick him up and his contract, mind you. So what will happen now is that he's a free agent, like I mentioned, with no contract. After he has been paid out by the Braves. And since he has no contract, you can get him for league minimum, 1-year deal, a prove it deal. It's got to be something that it's going to work for both he and the team. I honestly cannot tell you what team Matt Carpenter would fit in with right now. That's a tough one. I know that the Diamondbacks wanted to go forward with a true DH, but Carpenter is probably at the bottom of their list as far as options go. They would probably pick someone within their own organization before they had to pick Matt Carpenter. No shade to you, Carpenter. I'm sorry. It's the truth. But the Braves ended up locking in relief pitcher Ryan Kerr in that deal with the Padres for both of them. And then this is the beginning of the news. After adding Tyler Glasnow to the rotation, the trade with the Rays for Manuel Margot in the outfield and an extra bat, the Dodgers also got Tyler Glasnow on the contingency that he signed an extension. And it has been confirmed that they actually want more starting pitching. We're going to get to that. And after the Glasnow extension, they only had about $2 million before busting into the passed the second tier of the luxury threshold. Uh, the luxury threshold. Um, so they've been just paying out people left and right. You saw, Shohei Ohtani got $700 million. Saw Tyler Glass now get a lot of money in his extension for 5 years. After that, the Mets acquired relief pitcher in Johan Ramirez from the Chicago White Sox for cash after he was DFA'd and put on waivers. Kind of like what happened to Matt Carpenter. Someone could have picked him up and just paid cash for him. But for Ramirez, since his debut in 2020, the shortened season like we talked about earlier, true. He's pitched in every season, so will he pitch in 2024 is the question. And it's kind of looking like he may not possibly at least start off on the Mets roster as a bullpen piece, but you never know. Every team always needs starting pitchers and they always need relief pitchers. You can't say anything otherwise. It's what wins games and what wins World Series titles. It's that easy, really. So I won't say that he's a lock for the Mets bullpen, but he definitely has a shot. And then back to the Diamondbacks. They claimed right-hand pitcher Colin Snyder off of waivers from the Royals. Filling their 40-man roster, they actually had one extra spot after signing Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and they filled that with the right-handed pitcher filling the roster. He has only pitched in majors with the Royals, so Snyder only knowing one team may be a little of the jolt to the system. We don't know yet. We have to see for the 2024 season. If that's the case, enjoy pitch in the last two seasons, a little over 54 innings, to an ERA about 6, which is not good, obviously. If you know, you know. If he sticks with Arizona in spring and beyond, he could be on the roster. So we'll see after that goes in, February, March. We'll see what happens. The Giants, they claimed right-hand pitcher Devin Sweet from the Athletics after they tried to put him on waivers past teams, make room for Trevor Gott, who they made a 1-year deal with earlier in the week. San Francisco, however, had room on the roster, and Sweet put them at 38 players. So, moving on after that, another big deal, and I mentioned this in one of my previous episodes, were the Orioles, or the Angelos family, or anybody new, going to be able to work out a deal with Maryland, Baltimore, etc., in their governing body. Good news. Governor Westmore and Maryland Stadium Authority, as well as the Baltimore Orioles, have partnered up on a new 30-year lease for Camden Yards. So the O's will be in Camden Yards, or should be in Camden Yards, for the next 30 years. The hitch, because there's always a catch, they are only committed to stay in Baltimore for the next 15 years. So now that they have a new deal, obviously, you can breathe a little bit easier, because that deal is going to expire in a week and change after the calendar changed over to 2024. They would have no home. Camden Yard would technically not be the stadium for the Orioles, and they would have no place to play. It would kind of be a Blue Jays and Yankees situation where they played at possibly a AAA stadium, and that would not be a great place and a great situation for them to deal with, obviously. But now that that's squared off, now it's time to think, do we want to stay for just the 15 years, or do we want to continue and build on the history that we already have here in Baltimore and go to the full 30 years and commit to staying in Baltimore into 2050s? that would be that just boggles my mind saying the Orioles in 2054 or something like that. Insane if I could see that in the next 30 years or such. Um, so moving on, the next item on Monday, Pirates 33-year-old left-handed pitcher Martin Perez was a World Series winner. If you don't recall now, he was just with the Texas Rangers. Agreed to a 1-year deal pending a physical worth up to $8 million. Perez made an astounding 32 starts for the Rangers last year, and that was in his 32-year-old season. So he is a pretty good starting pitcher. I would say he's more of your middle to back end starting pitcher who's going to eat up a lot of innings. He did pitch almost 200 innings last year for the Rangers. Below average strikeout rate, solid walk rate. He's going to get a lot of ground ball contact for you. So your defense better be on their toes. I'll just say that. Pirates. Texas actually had the opportunity to possibly re-sign Martin Perez. It's not been said that his camp never gave him a chance, but it has been said that they were in contact throughout the entire contract negotiations with Pittsburgh. And then the Giants added catcher Tom Murphy to a 2-year deal worth $8.25 million. He'll be playing behind Patrick Bailey as a backup catcher. So he's also got an additional $250,000 buyout on his contract, or the 30-year club option for 2026. Deal can max out at $12 million. The option is picked up, and as I said, playing behind Patrick Bailey, and before mentioned, the Giants had extra room on their roster. That's putting them at 39 men. So one more guy before they max out on their roster. The Giants round out the roster by claiming outfielder T.J. Hopkins from the Reds, who debuted just last year. A measly 7-41 start. All 7 of those hits being singles. Not the greatest start, but it doesn't mean that his career is over. He did strike out a ton in that beginning to his career. Cincinnati will get cash or a player to be named later. That's the famous, always, player to be named later is my favorite thing to say. It happens so often in trades and such. But cash is king. So I don't know what the Reds need right now. I know they have a lot of young players in the infield. They had quite a few players in the outfield for a little bit as well. So they might want a double A or triple A, maybe not say a wash up, but a backup kind of player to add. Turning back to the Pirates, after they signed starting pitcher Martin Perez, they came to an agreement on a 1-year deal with 37-year-old Andrew McCutchen. Kutch is back in Pittsburgh, y'all. He's gonna be back in Pittsburgh. He's gonna be wearing the black, yellow, and white jerseys, and it is a 1-year, $5 million deal, pending physical. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but I don't think he's gonna have any trouble with that physical. And this is a homecoming deal that people have been waiting for. People have been wanting to have Andrew McCutchen back on the Pirates. They want McCutchen a buck. He wasn't a buck for life. He had some, tour reroutes and stops on the way, but he's back. A big deal here. This is something that I actually wanted to focus on a little bit. Off the field, Amazon, if you haven't heard of it, you're probably living under a rock. But Amazon streaming, Amazon Music, and such, like where this podcast plays. Uh, they're in deals, or I should say, they're in talks about a deal with the now bankrupt Diamond Sports Group, who owns Valley Sports, uh, who plays a lot of the regional teams in their games. So if you've ever heard of Valley Sports, who probably broadcasts your games, uh, if you are a fan of the following teams: the Angels, the Braves, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Guardians, the Marlins, the Rangers, the Rays, the Reds, the Royals, and the Tigers, who all have an existing contract with Diamond, you may be having to watch your games on Amazon streaming. So we'll be keeping out on details more about that issue as well. That's a big topic for me because I don't know if I want to have to pay extra for like Amazon Prime or something, or Amazon streaming, watch games that should be on cable, I believe, or on LV TV that shouldn't be blacked out. Don't get me started on that. That was it for Tuesday, but obviously a big deal with all those teams and their contracts being in the air now because someone couldn't keep the book straight. Wednesday, the Mets receive right-hand pitcher Adrian Hauser and outfielder Tyrone Taylor from the Brewers in return for right-handed prospect Coleman Crowe, who they actually got in a trade for Eduardo Escobar this past season from the Angels. So Coleman Crowe kind of just getting flipped around from team to team. I hope him best with the Mets. Sorry. No, I hope him best with the Brewers now. He was a Met. Now he's a Brewer. Uh, and I know the Mets are doing their darndest to get all the pitching that they can. The Tigers announced a 1-year deal with right-handed pitcher Jack Flaherty, starting pitcher, $14 million that can get an additional $1 million in incentives, made up of $250,000 for 26 and 28 starts, as well as $500,000 for reaching 30 starts in 2024. So Jack, he wants to obviously stay healthy. He wants to go out there every day, or I should say every 5 days, and it's the best of his ability. If the manager doesn't think that he's cutting it, then he's not going to be starting games, and that won't be good for his contract. But guaranteed $14 million, possibly 15. Before that trade with the Mets, the Brewers signed catcher slash outfielder Eric Haas to a 1-year deal. He will be replacing the leaving Victor Caratini and William Contreras backup and be an extra outfielder if needed. The Mets trade opened up a spot on the roster for Haas. I forgot to mention that. Now you know. Thursday's day was full of news and a early Christmas for Dodgers and Dodgers fans. Anybody who likes Dodgers at all, even the tiniest bit. But we'll start off with the rules changes that were announced by the MLB for 2024. First off, a pitcher who is sent out to warm up for an inning must face at least one batter. That's pretty obvious. And then there's a field timing coordinator. If you didn't know, now you know. There's a field timing coordinator. I didn't know that before. We'll now restart the timer after a dead ball, i.e. a foul ball. When the pitcher has the ball and play is ready to resume. There will no longer be a requirement for the pitcher to be on the mound. It just starts when they get the ball. So mound visits are being reduced from 5 per game to 4 per game. There will also be the new rule that if The defending team in the ninth inning has no more mound visits. They get one extra in the eighth inning. So there's also another new pitcher rule. If a new pitcher steps out onto the warning track from the bullpen with 2 minutes or less on the inning break clock, they must go out and pitch. The clock will also reset to 2 minutes rather than 2 minutes and 15 seconds, which was the case in 2023. There is also a reduced in the pitch clock. Before it was 20 seconds with men on running or on bases running. So now it will be 18 seconds because they were seeing that on average pitchers were leaving about 7 seconds on the clock. So they said, all right, we're going to cut off 2 seconds and see if that works and helps pick up the game pace of play. That's kind of their worry. And finally, the runner's lane will be extended. The runner's lane before used to be just foul line and a little bit of a wedge to the right. And now it will include that wedge on the right and all the dirt to the infield grass onto the left. So it is being from here to out here now. It will be, I think, for me personally, I don't like that change. I think it's going to cause some problems with catchers trying to throw down to first base and hitting first, runners going down to first, possibly. They might have to focus on whether or not runners like to run on the inside of the lane or on the outside of the lane. So there's a lot to it. Obviously, they're going to be MLB will be giving a grace period due to difficulty of modifying the field, such as synthetic turf field in some of the major league stadiums. So there's going to be a little bit of growing pains, I believe, with that one. And finally, the biggest deal that I think behind Ohtani and behind, actually, no, I would just say behind Ohtani in general, the Dodgers have spent over $1 billion now that they have reportedly agreed to a 12-year deal, $325 million with opt-outs after 2029 and 2031 seasons. Erkun Rosenthal. So if I'm wrong, you can shout out at Rosenthal. It's not me. Getting it from him. This is the largest contract given to a starting pitcher ever. Obviously, Ohtani is a whole other case because he is considered a two-way player by the MLB. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a pure starting pitcher through and through. There is no way about it. He cannot hit like Ohtani can hit. Can't even hit like, say, Greinke or some other guys that are decent hitters and pitchers as well. And the largest contract given to a pitcher who has not thrown a single pitch in Major League Baseball. You have to remember, he's coming over as a 25-year-old from the NPB. This beats out Gary Cole's 9-year deal by $1 million. This is actually, if you were keeping track and you heard it was going back and forth between the Mets and the Yankees, dinners, yada, yada, yada. You know what he was doing? He was getting these numbers. He was getting the $300 million from the Yankees, $325 million from the Mets, offers, all these crazy things. And then he went to the Dodgers and said, hey, I got a $325 million offer by, the Yankees. Can you match it? And they said, sure. Here you go. Here's a check. And that is what happened, everyone, on Thursday. The opt-outs are built to give Yamamoto options, obviously. but they are in the club's favor because this contract has been said to be very heavily backloaded, meaning that Yoshinobu will not make the majority of his money on his contract in the first few years. It'll be in the latter years, meaning the last few years. So if he opts out, he's leaving money on the table. But this is all pending a physical, and as long as he, goes to that physical and is fine, the team will announce the deal, and the Dodgers will have gotten their last starting pitcher for the rotation, I believe, in the 2024 season. They will have to pay nearly $51 million alone in posting fees to the Oryx Buffaloes, who was Yamamoto's team in the MPB. And Yamamoto will also be receiving a $50 million signing bonus in that deal. Obviously, Yoshinobu could be a Dodger for life, as alongside Shohei Ohtani, but in his final season with the Dodgers, he'll only be 36 years old when he's done. And if he opts out in the first year, after 2029, he'll only be 30 years old. After the second opt-out, he'll only be 32 years old. Those are prime years. If he is still doing a fantastic job, then he will obviously be able to get either an extension and pitch further into his age, 37, 38, 39, 40 years old, and or just go elsewhere where there's more money. He might go to New York. Who knows? He might have 2, 3, 4 rings by then and be totally fine. So we'll see what happens. I think it's fair to say Christmas came early. Christmas came early, y'all. The Dodgers and Dodgers fan base. Hype it, slow it down, kind of drop it down a little bit. We're gonna go to Friday today. Angels claimed Alfonso Rivas, first baseman from the Pirates, who was trying to make room for their new catcher, Austin Hedges. Don't know yet what the Pirates will be getting in return, if it's cash or a player. But we do know that Rivas is very much like Nolan Shenwell, who came up in August for the Angels and played about 6 weeks. He played very solid first base. Rivas is a gap hitter, blocks a lot, doesn't hit a lot of home runs, and is very defense focused. That's kind of what his thing is defense and hitting for average and getting walks. So he might just be a backup for Shenwell. He might be, just a backup. And if Shenwell gets hurt during spring training, or if there's something that we don't know yet about Shenwell, and he needs more time in the minors, he can be sent down, an option. And then Rivas can be placed on the Major League roster. But after that, the Padres claimed relief pitcher Luis Patino. If you don't remember, Patino was part of the deal that sent himself and a few other players to the Rays for Blake Snell, the 2023 National League Cy Young Award winner, who is now a free agent. So Patino is coming back home, you could say. He's coming home from his prospect days to San Diego. We'll see what happens there and how he does with San Diego and the Padres. He's back home. The Tigers and relief pitcher Shelby Miller agreed to a 1-year deal guaranteed $3 million. He has incentives that are just over $1 million for game appearances as well as games finished. The Tigers also have a club option that is worth $4.25 million for 2025, but that year is also boosted by incentives as well. And if they do not want to keep him after 2024, they can simply buy him out for $250,000. So that, my friends, is the news, the weekly wrap up, as I say every week. I want to remind everyone, if you caught the spring breakout episode with my friend Stephanie, I'm giving out, I should say, it's Norge Vera card number to 399. I don't know if you see that, but I can't really see that. I'm sorry, but it is number to 399. It is a 2022 Bowman Lava Refractor. So if you want that Lava Refractor, first Bowman, mind you, he's a pitcher for the White Sox. You can guess on social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Leave a comment in the YouTube comments section. I will pick the person who is closest to the number of this card, and you will get it. So, thank you all. Thank you, everyone. That was a fantastic wrap up for the week. And just so you know, this season, season 1, will end after next Friday's weekly wrap up, the 29th. And I will also be announcing the winner of this card. So if you win it, I'll be calling out your name or by your handle, whatever you use. And I will also be wrapping up this, at least 2023's season. So we're moving on to season 2 in 2024. Hope everyone has a good holiday and a good weekend. I will see you next week.